Hi guys, I'm here with Arturo and Lydia De León, and they have a company called Geophilia together, which is just sacred geometry and architecture and some other classes. And so, welcome aboard, you guys.
Thank you, Nikki. So glad to be here with you.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure.
So, right off the bat, I just want to say, I did have you guys heard of Earthships?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So I did the
Yeah.
Earthship Academy for a couple of months, like back in 2017, and then I did the dome homes. What was it? It was like the Air Creek dome homes with that dome Gaia thing. I did like two different workshops with them, and it's weird because it's like one of your talks you guys talked about just like the square boxes and stuff. And I remember I'm 43 now. When I turned 35, I was like looking to buy a house, and I was like, I don't want to live in a box. And I like corners bother me. Like just they always have like when I look at the corner, the three part of the corner, it just energy gets stuck there. I don't like it. I'm like, this is not natural. I want to be a hobbit, like in a like I want like other things going on. So yeah, so like let's talk a little bit about like why everything's so ugly in boxes right now.
Well, actually, now that you mentioned about the airships, I we had 1 year ago, like in October, November, we had a summit. It was in Spanish. It was all in Spanish, but it was a summit, and actually we invited many of the, like the founders of, and I did an interview with him. It
The
was
founders of Earthship. Yeah.
Airship, yeah,
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 Mike Reynolds, he's a
Michael Reynolds.
character. Yeah.
Michael Reno, and I interviewed him. Then it was translated into Spanish, but it was just fascinating because I mean, the whole system is amazing. It's just that, again, it's a box. And regarding your question about boxes, yeah, it's something that we have, like many times they have asked you, okay, what almost everything in architecture worldwide, doesn't matter where you look, it's a box. It's a cube, it's a square, it's a rectangle, it's just 90-degree angles. Like, why is that? So we have come with different hypotheses. One of it can be, I mean, there is like one more esoteric, deeper explanation and one more practical. So one very practical possibility is that because the bed is a rectangle, then you will put the bed that is a box, that is a rectangle, inside a room that is another rectangle. And you will put the room inside another, house that is a rectangle, and you will put the city that is. So it's extension of a bed. So if you think about it, it's like, okay, why we don't have pentagonal beds? Like why don't we don't have a circle? Why don't we have something different? Because that will force, if you think about, like naturally what humans will do, that they will make things fit into something else. And also something that is, let's say, good or positive from using boxes and rectangles is that everything is an orthogonal lattice, which means you don't have wasted spaces.
Yeah, I just wanted to tap exactly on that because, for example, in long time ago, and I will not talk about advanced civilizations on the past, but in our cycle, when indigenous people and tribes started to build their own houses, you didn't ever see, rectangular anything because they copied nature. So you would have yards, you will have round. The first houses would be like round in any material anywhere around the world. Either it's made with, ice cubes or it's made by straw or clay. So what happened, I think also, apart from what Arturo is saying, is today we have to, like, that's all what architecture is about, unfortunately, is to take advantage of every single millimeter. So there is no space to breathe in things. And so circular things demand, or curvy or organic design demands usually more space. And today everybody's making things smaller and, exactly to the millimeter. You can pass from here and there and sell it to the highest price. And unfortunately, we don't have any more as our, let's say, as our goal, to create harmony and beauty and wellness in the spaces. It's all about investment and, sell the apartment in the best price available. So I think for that, what exactly Arturo said, for practicalities and investment and taking advantage of every single square millimeter, that's where the rectangle helps, actually.
But then there is a more esoteric, explanation about that has to do with the understanding of sacred geometry. Sacred geometry, for those that are new to the subject, is the codes or the mathematics or, the numbers, the proportions that nature uses to create life. So sacred geometry, there is no copyright of sacred geometry. The whole universe is creating sacred geometry by itself. And different cultures in different times, they have been imitating those patterns that exist in nature through sacred geometry into architecture, music, art, literature, you name it. So we have been imitating that. And sometimes imitation is pretty good, sometimes it's pretty bad. But through that lenses of sacred geometry, which is more, it's far deeper than the extension of a bed, we know that the universe goes into a polarity. Sometimes the universe is expanding and it's creating, an expansion of energy, and sometimes the universe is contracting. So that expansion and contraction has two different types of geometry. I don't want to, go into very technical things. I don't want to go into, crazy names.
So almost like I don't know, like Dark Ages and
No, it has to do more with pentagonal shapes and with hexagonal shapes. So the universe
has a breath. Just imagine the universe has a breath.
Yeah.
In and out, let's say.
So when it wants to distribute energy, it will create pentagonal shapes. And when the universe wants, or a society or a civilization wants to hold and contain and store energy, it will create hexagonals. So an hexagon, it's a cube, which also is a representation of a square. So I think that's a deeper, more
so we could be on a breath hold right now, maybe like a
No, what Arturo is trying to say in very simple terms is that the cubical geometries are good for containing energy. They have this stability to them that can hold energy. So for a home, it has that quality, but again, the 90-degree angles are problematic. And we know that from science, and we know it from feng shui as well, and other things, and sacred geometry. But there is ways to work around that and, soften the 90-degree problem. But still, what Arturo is trying to say is that there is also a positive effect of cubical design.
Right. Okay, I could totally see that. Now, I'm friends with Frank Regala, and he's the one who introduced us. And he was saying that like that 90-degree wall, I think he was doing a building and you guys kind of consulted him on it, and he was saying like I was having a hard, so basically he like angled one of the walls just so that it wasn't 100% 90 degrees. Like how does that work with like structurally where it doesn't, fall down or whatever?
Yeah, actually the solution was very intelligent, and he, we're talking with him, and if you have, let's say, a box, you will, and because he's very deeply dedicated into sound, like engineering. So if you have like a box and you have two parallel walls, the audio, any frequency will start banging, and you will create echo. You will create like a resonance chamber, like a cavity. It will create echo.
Right.
Whereas if you tilt a little bit, it can be 5 degrees, 10 degrees, it can be just a little bit, one of these walls, and you break that parallel angle, then you will break the echo. So that's what he did, and it's very good. Actually, if you go to sound studios, or if you go to places where they want to minimize echo, they actually have fractal patterns. They have, like
exactly. Yes, but people don't know what fractal is, so you have you're just like destroying them everything. Poor guys, everybody's going to be like in a show. Okay, what is a fractal?
Yeah, you have seen in nature, for example, the Romanesco, like anything in nature
The
creates
Romanesco broccoli,
the broccoli,
this
or
green one that has all these little patterns in it.
or any tree, any branch, absolutely anything in the universe is creating fractals. A fractal is any image that the whole image is represented again in every single part. So you have this fractal repetition. Like think about, mosques, think about, like the Islamic architecture, they have a lot of fractal patterns. Through this fractality is the way you actually break the sound echo in a room.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about so okay, my channel, it's Nikki Ann Jones. It's mainly about mainly I interview a lot of people who are interested in the megaliths a lot. So I do a lot of I personally have been all over the world and I visit a lot of like these ancient temples and archaeological sites. And one thing that I do in my research is try to basically say that we were global before they're telling us we were global, and that there are like features that are found globally. Like, like there's the megalith, there's polygonal shaped
Yes,
masonry,
yes,
there's mortarless masonry, there's nubs, which I love nubs, they're my favorite. Do you guys, if you're familiar with those, we could geek out about that.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
There is actually one that very few people know. And if you ever come, Nikki, to Greece, I'll show you. It's in Delphi. You see the
Ooh,
same knobs in Delphi, and people don't know about it. It's
that
amazing.
would
Every
be
time we do sometimes private tours in Greece, and we've brought people, and every time I show them that, and that, oh, it's like Peru, it's like this, it's like that. It's the same thing found there.
And there's like so far there's like 56 features. I'll have to send you my spreadsheet. 56 different features that I have found cross-culturally. And
Yes.
it's very yeah, so I am at a place in my life where I'm like, I don't even know who built these, when they built them, or how they built them. I am even open to like fairies and elves and giants, and I'm open to anything. Like, I am not like saying, so I don't know. That's the thing, is like, I also heard one of you guys talking about, um, like the geopolymers and how it doesn't make sense. And for me, that doesn't make sense either, because geopolymer is like, that's another problem you've created. Like, where's your molds? Where's your mixing equipment? I mean, it's still the same amount of mass used in a thing. So where are you getting it? And why do we have quarry marks? And why do we have scroop marks and scrape marks and saw marks and stuff? So yeah, so can you guys speak to all that?
Sure. So first of all, I want to say, like a year ago, we did an online Atlantis and Ancient Civilization Summit. And in there, we had each of us, we had one presentation that we did together and some that we did by ourselves individually. And then we had amazing speakers from all around the world. And so there was a presentation that Arturo did that is called Pre-Cataclysmic Architecture. And this is from our combined research, and we personally, as architects, we identified 7 parameters that point us to the fact that this architecture is not from our times. And by our times, I mean the last 5,000 year old cycle of civilization. Why? Because we cannot replicate that. And we are, like Arturo is explaining that in his presentation, that, we cannot replicate that today with our modern, best ever, even 3D printing or whatever, you name it, we cannot do that. So this is a subject that have been definitely looking into a lot. We've also traveled a lot, and we've been looking at structures around the world. And honestly, talking about myself, I cannot explain it, like, other than there is other kind of advanced technology that created these structures. Either we're talking about pyramids of Giza, either we're talking about the Peru and all the, melted, marshmallow stone. You name it, it's all around the world. Even in Greece, there are structures that are extremely massive. People don't know about them, and most Greeks don't even know about them, and we have so many megalithic sites. And we brought Nassim Haramein 2 years ago for a 15-day retreat, and he was mind blown. He was like, I would never expect that we have megalithic sites in Greece. So there are massive walls and tons of structures that it's not created by 5,000-year-old civilization, and it's not created by copper tools. So what is it created by? personally, I cannot give a definite answer because we don't have definite evidence, but personally, I consider myth like true history. And I think there is sufficient evidence from both ancient writings and other findings that there were giants. I don't think that's anything weird to consider that.
Yeah.
First of all, the planet has had different sizes, and that's proven by science. It has had different gravity fields. So different sizes of trees and beings have been here across different cycles. I mean, I think we're just very egocentric to think we are the only civilization ever, and within the million billion years of our Earth, there has never been anybody different than us.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, we have a different opinion, between what we think about these megalithics and ancient civilizations. But, like we do architecture, what Lydia was saying, and construction, and when you want to do it as an engineer, say, okay, I want to replicate this thing. How can I do it? Let's begin with that. So in that presentation that Lydia is referring in the Atlantis Summit, I show with images the crane you need to move 1,000 tons block. So it's like really big, like you have the human being here and the machine is this size. It's like massive. The crane that you need to lift a 1,000 ton and has a radius of 30 meters. So I put that comparison, like, okay, you need this machine to move a 1,000 ton block. Explain, all the more than 1,000 ton block that exists, for example, in Lebanon, in the trillions of Baalbek, 1.2 thousand tons. So just like there is no way you need this machine to move that block, and there is no way you can carve it or move it with ropes. Like in terms of technical, like practically, you cannot do that. The same problem is with the Giza pyramid. Like the same problem. Like people say, oh yeah, of course they build it with ramps. Okay, how?
Carrying it.
Yeah.
And then you have these extremely hard stones, like they're almost in the diamond level, and they say, okay, they were, cutting them with copper tools. No, you cannot do it. Like physically, you cannot do it because
Right.
the copper
The
tools
most
are
scale is
the
2.
most scale is 4 or 5, and this durite, this very, very hard stone, is 8 or 9.
Yeah,
So
granite.
diamond is 10. So you cannot do that with copper tools. Doesn't matter how much you try to. So going to the possibilities and the hypothesis, there is no thesis. There is no a single thesis to explain it. There are hypotheses, there are possibilities. In that talk, I explained, like, okay, there is some people that say, okay, it could have been done with plasma technology, but that implies a civilization that already knows how to manage plasma, which we know very recently. So that means that this is a civilization that was at least 10, 11, 12,000 years old. And they knew they have technology. They have conquered the same way we have conquered electromagnetism. They knew how to manage electromagnetism and create plasma. And with plasma, they were cutting. With plasma, they were molding. With plasma, they were doing things. That's one hypothesis. The other hypothesis is that this civilization knew something that we already know, which is the link between electricity, magnetism, and gravity. This triangle, when you conquer it, that we actually have like many scientists like Nassim Haramein and many scientists, they have all the formulas, they have all the data of how to have this triangle. So when you have this triangle solved, that means that you have technology for anti-gravity, because you know how to move gravity, you also can create anti-gravity. So if you have this technology, yes, you add, kind of I don't know, like a device under stone, and this thing will float, and then you can carry it,
Sure.
And it's very easy if you have that technology. And then another hypothesis is they were using it through sound, because sound is type of wave that is like gravity. So with sound, you can levitate things. It's another hypothesis. It's like, okay, and how can you produce that sound, and what type of frequencies, and what type of devices? So there is like no devices. Like, okay, how did they do it? There is nothing. There is no evidence of how they do it. Most probable because it's hidden. What I think is that the military industrial complex, they have all this technology and they have had it for thousands and thousands of years. It's just not public, but they know exactly how it was done, what technology you had. And then there is another hypothesis that talks about like a sphere, like a plasma sphere that was giving excessive amount of energy to everyone. What it's called, like the Ark of the Covenant, or
Right.
like this plasma energy being filled.
Yeah.
So there are many hypotheses.
There are really hypotheses, and I mean, I think, I mean, I don't know. I always tell people I'm kind of like, well, it's hard to know. Like, I don't know how we're gonna know or not, because I feel like even if we do find, and sometimes like like you can look at, like, Michael Tellinger has done some work on like the cones and the rods, and and like trying to
Yes.
show you how like Coral Castle may have been built, like with rumors
Yes.
of that kind of thing. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe you pick up this thing and you're like, oh, it's just a stone, and you throw it away. You don't realize that it is actually a piece of technology that could be happening to us. But the other thing is, I actually, I don't know. Okay, so when I've told this a million times on my podcast, but where I first I got awakened or whatever was like in 2000. And well, I never was 100% asleep, but I think where the stone stuff, where that like really started freaking me out, was I went on a yoga trip to Peru in, I think, 2014. And we went to, I'm going around to, like, Pisac and Machu Picchu and all that. And then on our day in Cusco, we had an extra day to go to wherever we wanted to do. And then somebody was like, do you want to go to Sacsayhuamán? And I was like, yeah, okay. So we went there. And then when I was just walking along, like, no one else was there, like me and two people. And I just broke down crying, because I just couldn't. I was like, this is, why have I never heard of this place before? Right? Why wasn't I taught about this in school? Like, the Incas didn't even have wheel, and they're building this with llamas, and these are like heavier than airplanes. Like, the stones are crazy big. Some are, and then they're the mortarless precision, all this stuff. And then I was just like, we're being lied to. But then the thought also occurred to me, was like, and like it just, I felt, and that's what kind of spurred my whole like crazy research of this stuff. But I, I don't think you build Sacsayhuamán and then you just cease to exist. I almost feel like, my big, like, kind of conspiracy theorist kind of brain goes is like, I don't know, maybe these people have gone interdimensional, or maybe they've gone inner earth, or maybe they are, by people I'm talking about, some of these ancient civilizations, there's something controlling our earth. Like, if you look at COVID, the whole world shut down and went crazy because, because of like these control systems that are manipulating us like puppets on a string, right? And so I'm like,
Yes. Yes.
they're unknown
Yes.
to us. We don't know who those are. And so if you can like come post COVID at me like 6 years later and tell me that there isn't anything that's kind of trying to puppeteer, I'm not saying they're necessarily puppeteering every single person, and I'm not saying they're like mass controllers, but I'm saying there's something trying to. And I think maybe they're like the ancient builders, or I don't know, or maybe they're not related, but it just seems like there is other
Yes.
civil,
Yes.
intelligences on here that we're not dealing with.
Absolutely, absolutely. Apart from like generally having, I mean, I think there are just beings in different levels or dimensions, more advanced, less advanced. There is all a spectrum, this thing that we're being kind of told and brainwashed, like, oh, we're the only ones in the universe. Like, this is the most stupid thing scientifically ever. Like, if you sit and just see the physical universe, with the planets and stars and galaxies and trillion billion of them, seriously, we are the only ones here. Like, this is a joke for me personally. But what I want to say about things like this, 2020 agenda and all that, personally, yes, I think there are beings orchestrating that, but at the same time, it's a test. So in order to graduate from where we are, we have to go through this test and see if we resonate with love or fear. And these kind of tests come exactly for that. That's how I see it. And I remember I was invited in another podcast and they asked me about the moon. This is also something I've been presenting about, the time there was no moon. That was also in the Atlantis Summit. So, they put the moon there to control us. There are many things like that. And I said, well, yes. And at the same time, it's a threshold. It's a test we have to pass. It's a gateway, and you have to work your other bodies, in simple words, your light bodies or your coherence level or your levels of love and fear. You have to work on those if you want to go through that. So it's just a threshold. It's not there to, it will keep you here forever if you don't evolve, because many people say, oh, they put it so this is a jail and we can never escape. I disagree. You will stay here if you don't evolve, and you will have to come back to learn your lessons. And if you have reached a level, you will go, beyond the moon, and you can go, to the sun. That's a whole other story. But that's my personal take on that.
That's actually really funny. Okay, so I went to Japan and I was in Okinawa in October and they have the most star fort concentration of anywhere in the world. So there's tons of star forts all in Japan. And my friend that I was with there, her name's Anne Ishitawa, and she has like this YouTube channel called Skin Suit Manual, and she's a fantastic psychic woman who, sees a bunch of stuff like this. And she was saying that she perceives the moon as like a Titan prison, like where the Titans are kept imprisoned. And I was kind of like, I just took that for whatever it was and just went on with it. Well, we went to this star fort called Nagijin, which means divine time. And I had been getting a hit from Chronos for a long time. And I I knew that the way that we're hyper focusing and fixating on the clock is actually not healthy for us. It's almost like making us age quicker and stuff like that. Just the hyper measurement of time is to our detriment, right? So then I was at this Nagijin and I just got this crazy download it was started with Chronos, and then it was like I started realizing, oh, okay, so there was a full moon that night, and I was looking at the moon, and she was like, you kind of got to release your Titans. And then I went back to the Greek mythology and started reading all of everything that there's not a lot about Titans, but everything there is about the Titanomachy War and the 12 original Titans that there were, and then the Olympians and how they fought the parents of the Titans and imprisoned them because you can't kill them, you just have to imprison them. And then it was like, I was like, oh, okay, wait. Replace the personification of a god with the concept of ability. And if you look at okay, Chronos is time, Mimosync is memory. You have like Oceanus is flow. You have like Theia is sight, on and on. These are innate human abilities that have been imprisoned by the Olympians. And if you start looking at what the Olympians stand for, they're very much like law and order and like these structures, or jealousy, and like Hera would be like jealousy, or like there's all these other features where you're kind of going like, oh, so I loved what the Greek mythology basically kind of almost gave you like a soul imprint of like the things that have been like that. It's almost like our challenge in this video game is to basically get our full instrumentation of the human body back online. Um, and like that's part of, I think, evolving to the next level. But so anyway, and you're Greek, so that's awesome, like that you have um
Yeah, I have been looking into the subject of the Olympia gods and the Titans and all that. I feel there is so much to it, but I think there is a truth to that whole story. And I think the gods, they are real beings that existed in the past, which are just more advanced beings in some things. Because if you look at actually gods all around the world, you will find similarities between them. There is even similarities between the Olympians and the Hindu gods. I found similarities between stories that are in the Egyptian mythology and the Greek mythology, and then the Maya mythology. And so it's very curious to see the same stories being written with the same personalities doing the same things. So I don't think that's just a fantasy story or a fairy tale. I think it's referring to real things. But I also think there is embedded, like, as you said, different qualities and things and symbology as well. So I think there are different layers to these things.
Totally. So, okay, like let's go into Star Forts because you guys have talked about Star Forts before in your thing. So what's your guys' take on them? Okay, and a lot of people don't even know what Star Forts are. So like from architecture point of view, explain this to people.
Yeah, I mean, star forts are just, they're a construction that they say that it was a fort in terms of, like military army. So they were done in a way, they were built in a way that you can be safe in the interior. But in terms of sacred geometry, they're just fascinating. They're mainly pentagonal, a lot of pentagonal shapes, a lot of star shapes, hexagons, heptagons, octagons. They break the cube. They break this idea of everything has to be a cube. So they're not cubical. They're all made basically with stone. Some of them mortar less, other with mortar. They're massive. Some of them are really massive, like big. And the idea of there are many hypotheses again. Like some people say they were all connected and they have canals so they can connect one star fort to the other through water. And this water was not only water, but it was also like a mix where they were using every star fort like a capacitor. A capacitor is a device in electronics that you accumulate energy, you accumulate electromagnetism. So there are many hypotheses, but actually nothing has been proved. Like no one has ever done, the experiment to prove that actually they were doing that. But what is very interesting is to see that they have fractality. They have fractality and they have other types of, non-cubic architecture. And I do believe that architecture, and we have measured that a lot, like architecture, the place that you are, will shape somehow your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings, and it will shape your electromagnetic field. That's why people, for example, in cities, there are millions of people living in the city and they all feel isolated. Even though they're all, packed there, they all feel lonely and they all feel like there is no one around them and they cannot talk to anyone because the shape, the cubic shape, one of its characteristics is to actually isolate. So it's not the best for community. So the best for community is pentagons, spirals, circular shapes, dome shapes, everything that has to do with more a feminine type of geometry. So if you think about, like the indigenous tribes, they all have like domes. They all have, round shapes. So Star Fortress for me are just a piece of art. In terms of sacred geometry, just a piece of art. Some of them are aligned with arcastronomy. Some of them are aligned to specific, events, solstice, equinoxes.
But I just want to add to this that, if we're being lied to about almost everything in the world, that's where my stand is. If they say this is a fort, it's definitely not a fort. So it's definitely something else. And to make a fort with all this level of fractality and sacred geometry just doesn't make any sense to me. So obviously it's some other kind of technology, and it's just curious to see this kind of structures all around the world. And yeah, we have no idea who built them, for what, and what they actually do. Like
Yeah, the Tartarian
we need
Empire.
we need a lot of research onto that. Like, for example, I did tons of research for over 15 years on the ancient temples. I did a whole PhD to decode their technology, their functions, very specifically. So we would have to do a whole lot of things on the forts, because we get that question a lot. And personally, I don't have a definite answer, but they are not forts, in my opinion. Like, that's a definite no.
There's one in New Mexico, and I've visited it, and there's some in Florida, like there's some in the, I mean, they're so they
There's in Mexico, there's in Acapulco, there's in Greece, in Peloponnese, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, so I'm very always curious about that. So what do you guys think about, okay, well, tell us, like, what is your main focus, like building kind of structures, like commercial or residential for people, or is it more like what's your with Geophilia, what's your main focus to do?
Our main focus is creating harmonic and healing spaces, like wellness. Either that is applying to a private home or a private villa. We've done several of those, or it's creating a community project or a healing center. We've done, like holistic hotels. One of those in Tulum now, it's in building process, like regulations. And so this is a system that its goal is to create harmonic space, and it can also be applied in redesign. So sometimes people have had, a huge building and then want to transform it into what, a healing center or retreat center, and we just redesign the whole thing. Or any apartment in the city can be redesigned to be more harmonic. So that's like the goal.
Yes. Yes, we do sacred geometry architecture since more than 2 decades. And Lydia, she did her PhD to see, okay, how can we prove scientifically that the location where you will place your bed or where you will place, in a new design will actually affect your health and can, help you or can not help you. And then we take all that information, which is all the information of fractality, of fractals, and we apply it to different styles, because architecture, it goes through different styles and every person have a different style. But that doesn't mean that whatever style you're using, it can be healing. It can be, it can have all the instruments and all the technology. So the place that you are living has more coherence, has a better, quality in all levels. It's kind of, I've explained that a lot. It's like organic food and junk food. So people are aware that, okay, if you're going to have junk food, yes, it's cheaper. It's faster. It's, easier. You can find it anywhere. But you know that in the long term, it will be, a harsh, it will be bad for your health. It's the same concept. Organic food, it tastes better. Of course, the price is higher because the quality is higher. And it's better in the long term for everybody, for the planet, for you, for everyone. So the same thing is true for architecture. The type of architecture we do is like this comparison. It's like organic architecture. It's more tailored, it's more detailed, it's more personalized, it has all the ingredients, it's lower, it's not an AI render that you do it in 10 seconds. It has a client analysis, a land analysis, it's a whole process that you have to go through it, but the result is far better. Whereas you can have, this cheap junk, we call them junk architecture, and everything is prefab, and everything will expel, formaldehydes, and it will keep creating venoms even when you're living there. And it's faster, you can, build it very fast, but it will always, always be junk architecture. That's why, architecture that has gone through centuries or more, it's built in a very specific way. It has natural materials, it has sacred geometry, it's located in a specific way, aligned to specific things. It's a whole technology that it's there. And we have seen that more and more when you're talking about 2020 and all this crisis time, we have had a lot of clients that actually say, I don't want to live anymore in the city. I don't want to live anymore in the cube. I want to go to nature. I want to live in nature. I want to live with, like-minded people. I want to get out of the city. They kind of, woke up, some of them, and they say like, wow, I think this is not a good idea to keep living in cities.
Yeah, no, I'm one of them. Like I went from like Dallas, which was a, crazy big city, to then went and lived in Arkansas for a year, and it was like in the middle of nowhere. But I was in a national forest, and it was a really cool thing. But then, and then now I'm in like a small town in New Mexico. Like I'm, like I don't, and I used to live in New York for 5 years, and I lived in London for three. I mean, like I've been in major cities, and I am like so over that now because it's like you were saying, it's like you're alone together, and your little boxes that you get in your little box, and you're fighting hecticness, the EMF smog, the actual physical smog, the like the traffic, the this, the that. I don't think we're meant to live on each other, on top of each other like that. It really creates frustration that doesn't even need to be there. So, and it creates like some form of scarcity, or yeah, like there's a everything's limiting or something. So I don't know. I don't like that either. But um what I was gonna say is, like, when you were talking about, like, is it kind of like you guys almost incorporate like almost like a feng shui kind of thing, or is it more like, oh, there's certain placements that the doors need to go to this direction where the sun comes up, or is it more like, or is there also an element of like, okay, there's a ley line like here, but not here, or like how do you decide on where to build on properties and things?
So yeah, this has, as Arturo was saying, we have like these three main stages when we do the Geophilia design system, as we call it. So stage one is we do the analysis of the client. And so we do what we call a 5-element chart, a voice harmonic analysis, and other analysis. So we know, if you're the client, what are your most supporting colors, most supporting geometries, and so everything that we will do later in the design phase is not just, oh, it's our own idea that this is good for you. It's actually based on your personal like blueprint. Okay, so that's really important. In the stage two, we will do the land reading. So this is all the things I did in my PhD, which is called geobiology scientifically. So there we will see, if there is underground water or fault lines or things like that, and we will find the optimized place or location if we're doing, let's say, one building. Of course, if there are more, and it's a big development, it's a bit more complex. But in the actual design phase, we take phase one and phase two, we inform the design based on that. And then there are many things that we incorporate when we do holistic design, which is, Arturo has been trained in different things, and myself. So that is sacred geometry, it's biogeometry, it's feng shui, it's permaculture, natural materials, bioclimatic design. It's a lot of things that go in there. So our decisions come, synthesizing all of that, as well as, the practical stuff, okay, I want to view that direction because, that side has a beautiful mountain, or, the legislation is like that, or, so we have to combine all of that, which actually makes our life pretty difficult, because if we were just normal architecture, you don't need to think about all of that.
Right.
So yeah, we do our best to optimize all of that, as well as the practical stuff. So that's kind of, if I can put it in a simple way to explain it.
And how do you do, like, I know you've done a lot of these temple things. Like, do you guys do a lot of these travels? And I know you do tours to Greece. So, do you travel around different places for research yourself, or?
We do a lot of travels. Personally, I love to visit temples. We don't only do retreats in Greece, we do them all around the world. So we've done, for example, 3 times Guatemala, and that's where Frank also came, and we had an incredible time. The Mayan civilization is fascinating. We've done twice with Nassim in Mexico. And for example, this year we're going to do in Italy, because there is the only modern temples that we found in the world which have all the 3 parameters that I've decoded from ancient temples. And people didn't even know about it. They did it intuitively, which is incredible. So yeah, Frank is also joining us for that, and that's going to be in September. So yeah, we're really excited about that. And we generally love to visit, and last year we were also part of a documentary where we visited Turkey, you know, we did our own side of research and we shared for the documentary. Some not well known. I'm not talking about Göbekli Tepe and all that. There are other temples that are incredible. That's with Matt Lacroix, Robert Grant was there, and Robert Schock, who is an amazing geologist. I'm pretty sure you know him. So yeah, it's a fascinating subject, and there is so much to discover.
Yeah, we're also in Peru. We've been Egypt, like, you know, like the main.
Oh yeah, we did a
sites.
retreat in Egypt also. That was 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
we like to blend all the science and spirituality. So personally, what I like to do is, apart from, you know, we do presentations, for example, in our retreats, all the science and all the, you know, all our research, but then we go to the temples and we do meditation and activation to access the outer states, because this is one of the functions I've decoded. So the temple design and technology itself, one of its functions is it's meant to create an altered state of consciousness in the brain. I'm talking literally, not just, you know, new age ideas. Like, this is all the things that I've been researching for so many years. And I think there's so much more, because temples, the more I'm looking into temples and all these ancient structures, the more complex it gets. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Well, I mean, I've had a number of different experiences at ancient sites, and like you never know. Like I told you that one in Japan, but I mean, I was in India at Mahabalipuram, and I walked into this one area, and like I literally was taken back when it was fully structured. Like I got almost like a time slip. I like got a time slip. I was
Wow,
seeing it back I don't know when, but I was
amazing.
seeing it when it was like complete, and then like I like snapped back in place, and that's happened to me at Chaco Canyon before. And then I had a crazy experience in, actually, of all places, the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid. I didn't mean to have an experience there, but I was alone in the room and no one else is there, so no security guards or anything, and I was like, all right, I'm jumping in the box. So I jumped in the box, and I didn't know if I was going to have 1 minute or 10 minutes. I didn't know, because I didn't even expect to have any time. So I just jumped in the box, and then I was thinking like, well, what should I do in here? I don't want to meditate because I don't want to close my eyes. So I want to keep my eyes open. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do in here. So then I had gotten a spell from the shaman like a month before that for opening portals. And I didn't believe it would work. And now retrospectively, I think that's stupid. But I started saying the spell, and then like the granite on top of the thing, like this like Egyptian type looking pharaoh-ish, I don't know, relief sculpture started to pop out of the granite like on the ceiling. And then I started freaking out because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like I tried to like say it backwards and be like, no, 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 cancel, cancel, stop. And then some people started coming in, and you know, you can't just come in. It's not like a door. Like there's like a little hallway before they come in. So I
Yes.
could hear them coming in, and I was like, go away, just go away. And then they came in, and it just went whoosh, turned into smoke. And then I was like, okay. They're like, oh, you got the King's Chamber to yourself. I was like, yeah. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, what is the King's Chamber? Like, okay, like what is this place then? Like,
Well, the King's Chamber has all the technology. This is all the things that I've deciphered with the research, has the most probably powerful technology in the planet, I think, to create outer states and to create out-of-body experiences for both. And it was used for training. I'm saying that because all the scientific stuff is there. I'm not saying it's as a hypothesis. Is meant to create that. And of course, there are some parts missing. As we know, the external cladding is missing, you know, the top of the not sarcophagus is missing, you know,
right,
like
the box.
the capstone is missing. So there are parts of the technology, it's not in its full functionality, imagine. And you know, we've been also there inside the box, and it's extremely powerful, remember?
And you have also, you have to consider that the box now is misplaced.
Yeah.
They move it from the original place, and it had a lid, and they dynamite it. So they, blew it away. Like they dynamite it because it was all sealed. But because they couldn't move it, it was so heavy, they put, like a dynamite. So
That's
they,
where you see the
That's
corner
where,
there.
yeah, the
Broken
corner's all
off,
busted.
exactly.
and it's also misaligned because it's no longer in its original position. So even with that, and even, like with the erosion, because we think that the Pyramid of Giza may be, like there are many hypotheses about how old it is, but for
3,000.
sure it's
Yeah.
at least 12,000 years old. It can be even more, 30, 40,
I believe
etc.
36,600 BC, personally.
Yeah, it can be, but for sure it's far older than what they say.
Yeah.
And that has been proven, like Robert Schoch proves it, like there is no way to disprove it. Like you have the vertical erosion from rain.
Yes.
And that happened when the
Last
desert
cataclysm,
of Africa, of that area, it was all a jungle. So there is no other way to have that type of erosion. So that was in the previous cataclysm, like 12,000 years ago. So if you think that this complex has been for thousands of years, imagine how many civilizations have been there. Like you have a house and then it's not inhabited. So you will go there and you'll say, oh, this is my house. You'll do a little scribble there, a little restoration. Is like, you see, my name is there. It's my house. That's how they actually named this place that it was built by
Khufu and Khafre and all that.
because in a little tiny corner, a very bad scribble was there. It's not even properly made. And they say, you see, that's the author. It's not true.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
true.
in the relieving chamber above the king's chamber. It's not even anywhere else.
Yeah, and
like...
this thing that they call it the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, it's just a British idea because they were there and they dynamite everything. That's actually the passage that exists now. They dynamite it from
that's not
inside
even the real entrance.
No, the real entrance, there is no way to move it. It's completely blocked by heavy stone, so there is no way to enter. The only way to enter it was through tunnels, underground tunnels. So through underground tunnels, they get in, and then they found the exit, and they said, like, okay, we cannot exit from here. So they dynamite their way out.
Yeah.
That's why the entrance is next to the real entrance, the entrance that now you can come in. And it's fascinating. Actually, Robert Schoch, he shows that there is plasma in one of the bedrocks. There is a plasma event, like there in the stone. So this place is really
and there's that other chamber that's not been explored yet that they are sending in like some kind of imagery into.
Yes,
That'll be interesting to see what they allow us to know about it. That's the other thing. It's like.
Yeah, I think they have already made parties there. It's just not public.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and there's so much stuff that's going on with the new LiDAR or satellite imaging and
the SARS study. It's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and I got to meet those guys when I was at the Cosmic Summit in the summer, and I mean they basically said as much that that technology that they're doing is with public satellites, and it's a combining of many different layers of files, and it just takes a lot of memory or a lot of storage on like of computing, but they essentially could do it anywhere in the world. They could go up to like I can't remember the mileage, like 20 miles or something below the ground anywhere in the world. So I'm like, well, that might be kind of militarily people might get them in trouble, but I mean, in terms of archaeology, man, we could discover so much if a lot more people like got into doing that. Like who knows like what they'll find like in the Matador Basin, like even in Guatemala or Mexico or anywhere.
Yeah, I think also all the Sahara Desert is hiding so much under it. Like absolutely.
Yeah, that would be really, really interesting because I mean, and the sand's growing, like they're having to like plant trees to stop it. So who knows like what that was back when. I mean, they have a lot. Something I found like when I was walking around like the Bent Pyramid and some of the other pyramids was petrified wood. I found petrified wood all over the place. Like I have like I don't know, maybe like 6 different pieces of petrified wood, and I'm like, this place used to be a forest or something then. That's
exactly. Yeah. I mean, mainstream science says it that before that last Younger Dryas and cataclysm event, it was a jungle there. So we know that apart from, people that support Atlantis or whatever, I'm talking just mainstream science, and they say that for many different places around the world, that whatever now is jungle could have been a desert, whatever is now desert could have been a jungle, so with different levels of ocean, you could have different parts of the land be above water or underwater, and that could change everything. So the earth has changed so much in so many different cycles, we have no clue.
So do you guys ascribe to like it's going to change again soon, or do you think what's your feelings on, do you think we'll go through some sort of pole shift? Do you think we'll go through something in our lifetime, or yes, no, maybe?
Well, personally, I'm not so sure to make any prediction. I am pretty sure it is going to happen. I cannot say when. I think, just the planet goes through polar shift. Absolutely. That's also proven, scientifically by many different samples and stuff. And so there are also solar cycles, and also I think partly, there is all the scientific stuff, but I'm also a deeply spiritual person. And so I think it all also depends on our level of consciousness and what we're doing here on the planet. And, different sources point to the last destruction of Atlantis and all that there was a lot of misuse of technology. So I think these cycles come and go according to all these events, solar cycles and different things, as well as our own consciousness. And, now we know how consciousness can affect matter, because when you affect the field of energy, that Nassim Haramein has proven it, and the ether field or the vacuum, or there is tons of evidence of how our level of consciousness can influence events like that globally. So it's no longer just spiritual, what I'm saying, but it's embedded just in one reality, I think. So if we're going to see it in our lifetime, I don't know, but also it depends. Are we going to keep on, destroying each other, killing each other, and wars, and, destroying the planet, or are we going to change? So I think it all depends on that at the end.
Well, and part of me thinks, oh yeah, like, what do you think about that, Arturo?
You were saying?
Well, I was going to say, I
think
just
you're
think
going to
that,
have destruction?
yeah, do you think that we're going to go through a cataclysm?
Well, I asked that question to Robert Schock, and he actually had, I think he just published a book, or very like 1 or 2 years ago, and he talks about that. He talks about, okay, the cycles, geological cycle, geophysical cycles, and also the cycles of our sun. And he says like, I don't want to be very pessimistic, but we're in the in the zone where usually if you check ice core measurements, if you check how the electromagnetic pole of our earth, the shift has happened, when it has happened, we are in the time zone. It's not like a hard limit, it's like a zone that can delay 100, 200, 300 years. So somewhere in this zone, statistically speaking, is more probable that a big change can happen. But it's like in the stock market. Past predictions are not
Guarantee.
guarantee that
Guaranteed
you
it
will
wasn't
have
gonna happen.
future outcomes. So because that has happened in the past doesn't mean that it will happen in the future, because there are so many variables. What I feel is that in our beautiful planet, at the same time, everything is being lit. Like right now, you have people living in war. Right now, you have people living in the most amazing religious ecstasies in the planet. Like at the same time, our planet is holding different timelines for everybody. And depending on what you resonate is what actually you will be living at the same time. So I see more the planet like a field of potential possibilities that can happen. Now, as a collective consciousness, that it's mainly manipulated, as you were saying, and it's mainly, it's an empire of lies, that forces to have like an agreement on reality, and that forces But if you change the internal reality, then the external reality will change.
Yeah.
Like when we were saying about, the coronavirus time, and people were saying, okay, obey to do this, obey to do that. People could say, no, thank you. Like, it's so easy to say, no, thank you. I'm not going to close my place. I'm not going to wear a mask. No, thank you. But because so many people, millions of people agreed on that, then it was, forced. So I think it's the same in a bigger spectrum, like the whole planet will disappear one day and it will be a cataclysm. It can, but if we have technology, and that's something that I have talked, to Nassim Haramein and to many other people, that they say they feel the hurry, technologically speaking, to conquer gravitational energy and gravitational, public devices, because if you have that technology, you take your car, gravitational car, and you get out of the planet, you stay there for whatever years you need, and then you
Right.
come
Come back
down
or
when
whatever.
the disaster happened, which can be true. Like if you have this type of technology, let's say, I don't know, there is a tsunami and you have the technology to know that tsunami is coming, you will take your car, you will go somewhere as fast as you can. You will not stay there. So it's the same thing. We have technology. I think we do have the technology. It's just not public.
It's not for
I,
everyone yet.
I do think
Yeah.
that the military industrial complex has all this technology and they have access to absolutely everything you can imagine. So I think they do have. It's just that it's not public for everyone.
Man, I wish they had flying cars. That would be the coolest thing, right?
Yeah, same for me.
I
Can't wait.
I thought Jetsons was going to happen in my lifetime. I wanted to be able to, have a flying car. That would be cool. Or even if it was like a Rocket Man suit that actually worked like really well, like just
Yeah.
figure out a way for us to fly. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this comes down the pike. But a lot of I'm a big tektite collector. Like moldavite's a tektite, and all these other things are tech. So tektites are found on 10% of the planet, like the strewn fields are. And they say that they're when a meteorite hits the ground and then goes up and then it sprinkles the sand back down and that's how they're formed. And then I don't know if I so much believe that because like also have a lot of trintite, which is the from the nuclear bomb, like in they set it off in Trinity, New Mexico. And so like um it it's debris of the sand that was from the nuclear explosion there, and they're indistinguishable from other tektites when you look at them in a microscope because like I've definitely have done that, and I'm thinking we may have had a form of a nuclear war in the past because
Yes.
they talk
Yes.
about it in a lot of mythologies around the world,
Mahabharata, it's there.
Mahabharata, and
And even Plutarch, the last high priest of Delphi, talks about that happening on the moon. He says the craters of the moon are not any result of an impact. He says it's a result of radiation, atomic things. He says that. It's crazy if you think about it. It's like,
yeah, well, I mean, and when you look at it, it's kind of like, well, how come it's been like there's craters within craters within craters. Like they're hit like the same spot more than once, like on the moon. And then yet we don't have that many craters on the planet. Like we have Meteor Crater in Arizona, and then like I challenge you all to go actually start looking at the existing meteor craters. They're not as much as you would think that
they're very few compared to the size of the Earth and too many
do
on the moon
Yeah,
compared to its size.
but you also have to think we have an atmosphere, and that
yeah.
protects us from impacts.
That's true. That is true. We do get they burn off like most of them when they come in. So yeah, that's true. But still, I mean, I just think that there could be something to the deserts being like old nuke sites or something. And then you have things like Terra Preta, which is engineered soil. Like they say, like a large part
Yes,
of the Amazon are literally
the
engineered soil.
Amazon, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we need to Terra Preta the Sahara.
That would be good.
That would be fun. We could make it into a Garden of Eden there and be like, okay, guys. Yeah. All right. So is there anything you guys have coming up that you want to share with everybody?
Sure. So we have this retreat. We're doing temple retreat. We always do temple retreats, but this is the first time we're going to do a retreat in not in ancient temples, but on modern temples. So there is this incredible place in the north of Italy called Damanhur, and it's a community there, but we are going there to experience the different chambers. So they have different halls, and they have, according to what they say, they are built based on Atlantean technology. But I personally can verify that because all the three parameters that I found in ancient temples are kept exactly like that in the Damanhur temples, which for me it's fascinating. And then we were there last year with Arturo, and we actually did some measurements. And what we found is that we found the highest level of coherence inside the temples than anywhere else we've measured until now, even in the ancient temples. And the reason is because these temples, first of all, are complete. You know, many ancient temples today, they are broken off, or they are in half ruin, or whatever, there are pieces missing, like Giza, for example. And the other thing is that they're continue to get activated weekly, meaning a temple has all the technology by itself to support, you know, us doing things in there. But when you activate through a special meditation and all that, you keep that fractality, that coherence of the space, like continuing. So it's just extremely powerful. It's literally an eighth wonder of the world, what they have done there, just even to, you know, fathom them doing that by hand, you know, without any machines, and everything is hand painted. They have special things that they put inside in the floor, in the walls, you know. They have this technology which they call selfica. It's just fascinating. So it will be 1 week there. And yeah, we will visit one hall every day, and we'll do special presentations, and also all our scientific stuff. So that's 27th of September. We're going to go for the autumn equinox, because from the things I teach, the equinoxes and the solstices are the most powerful electromagnetic events. They're literally portals. So we actually do online activations every solstice and equinox, because it's really important to do energy work on temples if you can at that time. And if you cannot, well, with an online community is the second best. So we are very excited about this retreat.
Yeah, that will be really fascinating. And the place is gorgeous. You know, you're in the mountains of Italy, and the temples, they were carved like for, I think, 40 years, 30 or 40
30
years.
plus, yeah. Took them 30 plus.
They were carved
inside the mountain.
Inside the mountain. Nobody knew about it. No one knew about it. And then eventually they made it public, but they did that, you know, like did rituals. Very Atlantean energy.
Absolutely.
Where will people stay? They don't stay in the temples, right? Like
No, the temples have no space. It's not a space for like a bedroom. So we're visiting during the day. We have our own, like it's a villa with private rooms, and everybody gets their room, and you know, it's just like 10 minutes away.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there was that guy that we met at dinner when I met you guys in real life.
Yes, exactly.
What was his name?
He was from Damanhur. Crotalo.
Okay, yeah. And he was like, I guess he's been part of that dig for 30 years or something. I can't remember what he said.
Yeah, he's one of the oldest inhabitants there. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, cool. So yeah, that sounds like a really cool adventure you guys having come up. So yeah, and they can find that information on your website?
Yes. We will have the link. I'll send you all the information.
Yeah. So Geophilia.
And we can offer something special for your audience as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be great. And then yeah, so I mean, and I know you guys just got done speaking at a conference, and do you have anything else like that coming up, or?
Wow, that was a really good conference.
Yeah,
in Acapulco, in Puerto Vallarta. We are invited like every year. I've been there since 2018. Oh, wow. But I knew, you know, their conference long before. And it's amazing to see what we were discussing before, like how the consciousness of the planet has been changing in all levels. And because of social media and because of the internet, you have a faster feedback ratio, which means everything is informed with everything else. Why I say that is because at the very beginning, Acapulco was mainly freedom-oriented, libertarian, money-related, like kind of in the financial world, like how to be independent financially and how to overcome all these chains of, banks, etc. It was very oriented into the business, money, finance world. And technology, of course, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, etc. But now you can see how it has been changing through different years, and now it's far more broad spectrum. It's far more fractal. Now it's oriented towards health and towards, okay, how can we live off grid? How can we not only be free, financially, but also be free emotionally, spiritually? How can we be free in architecture? Like, it's just amazing to see how these type of movements that they began with one very clear specific thing, now they're far more open to many speakers, and the speakers were amazing. I'm just actually rewatching some of them because I couldn't watch them live, and it's really high quality. It's amazing people.
We're also invited in the Bosnian Pyramids Conference in June, so we're both going to be presenting there. Each of us will have a different presentation. So I will present all the science of ancient temples, and Arturo will be deeply into sacred geometry, architecture, and other things. So we are excited about that as well. We also have, if people are interested, we have on Friday, we're doing this online spring equinox ceremony and temple activation. So every time with the solstices and the equinoxes, we have 12 temples that we weave like grid work. And so they are selected according to the specific energy. So now we will go for spring equinox. They are temples that are either aligned to the rise or, things like that. So yeah, that's like an hour and a half online ceremony.
Really cool, really amazing. All right, well, is there anything that you would like to tell my audience that you haven't talked about, or you guys feel good?
I mean, we can talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's fascinating, and we love to share all this information. And what we really like is to, leave seeds. So eventually, if you feel attracted to some subject or something, you can keep digging. So in our website, geophilia.org, there is a lot of information. There are more like 300 pages there with tons of things to get inspired, because sometimes people say, okay, where can I find something? Where can I read? We have books, we have videos, we have so much things for free.
Yeah.
And then some other courses, if you want to go deeper, we have, like different seminars that we've been doing for many years. But a lot of information, videos, articles for free, tons of things, because we like to inform people, and we like to share and to do community. And yeah, that's our mission.
Cool. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to do this again sometime. If you guys have anything else coming up, let me know. And yeah, this was great.
Thank you so much, Nikiana. That was
Thank
really
you.
an amazing conversation.
Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys. Bye.
Bye.